to Hanratty'S Huddle, the podcast that features Terry Hanratty, the former Notre Dame All-American, Pittsburgh Steeler, New Canaanite, all-around good guy. Terry, Dave Torromeo here with you today. Welcome back.
Welcome back, and Merry Christmas to you and to all our listeners out there. We're in that season, and I know I've been inundated by Christmas presents, and more. The worst part about the whole thing is mailing them.
Oh, yeah.
Going to the post office, standing in line, and I had to go last week. I had to go to the post office down in Stamford because it was the only one open later.
Yeah. I got you.
And I'll tell you what, there was 9 people in front of me, and when I left, they had to close the door because they were closing up, and there were still 17 people behind me when I left the post office. Now, those people in the post office are making their money.
Well, I have to tell you.
Earning their money, I should say.
It's a very stressful time of year for a lot of people. My wife, I mean, she was lamenting, like, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to go shopping, I got to cook. I said, let us help you. What can I do to help? So, but you're right. I mean, people just get so over the top. And I just read a book, a little small book called The 4 Emotions of Christmas. And really what it was saying was that everybody gets so stressed out, and you just forget. We just forget what the season is about, really. And
for sure.
I mean, and it's really, obviously, we're inundated with the TV commercials and the music and all that stuff, and it can be overwhelming. But with all that said, Merry Christmas to all you happy folks out there, and of course the best for 2024. We're here. We're actually coming up to another NFL weekend, and you had a nice lunch last week. I don't know if you want to talk about that, but that's your NFL alumni status is very, very powerful. But let's start with the bowls and college football and what we're seeing there. What are your thoughts about the bowl season so far?
Well, first of all, there are too many bowls.
Okay.
You hear everybody say, well, everybody gets a trophy. Everybody gets a trophy.
That's true.
Well, now there's 32 bowls, which means that 64 teams get to go to play in bowls. You have to have a 500 record to get into a bowl. Sometimes, if there's not enough guys that are at least 500, they can dip below that just to fill up the slots in the bowls. And this is sort of a payback to the kids for having a good year and putting in a lot of practice and all that good stuff. But teams do not make money in bowl games. I mean, they're lucky if they break even. If they go to the big ones, yes, they can make some money. But if you go to the second-tier bowls that are starting now, it's going to cost the schools a lot of money just to give these kids a little bit of vacation. So I think it should really be cut back in the bowls. I don't see any reason why. Are they arguing out there who's number 65 in the country? That's just getting a little absurd.
I do think it's, listen, for the kids who are into really playing college football, and the fact you're right, you have to have at least won 6 games. So that means a lot of schools are in a bowl game with a 6-6 record, and then they're going to finish 6-7. So they're going to finish the season with a loss and under 500. So tonight you have the roofclaim.com Boca Raton Bowl, and it's USF and Syracuse. Then you got, there's almost a bowl from here. There is actually every day through the new year. You've got the Georgia Tech UCF. So some of these games are just really not there. Arkansas State, Northern Illinois. I mean,
the colleges are going to push for it.
Yeah.
The coaching staffs, because that gives their program an extra 2 weeks to practice.
Yes.
Which means your seniors are basically gone, so you're going to practice your underclassmen.
Right.
And so that gives them 2 weeks to get, legally be able to work out their kids. Then they get the kids playing experience in a real situation, a game situation. So, there is something to that, but it's an expense.
It is an expense, but I know these bowls, they do spend a lot of money, and these are, for those of you who don't know, because I worked at the Football Foundation for several years, and these bowls this is their full-time job. Some of these people, they have an executive director, they go out, they get sponsorship, they plan for this bowl game all year. So I really give them credit for that, the passion that they have for it. But you mentioned something about the seniors, and a lot of the seniors, especially those who are planning to get drafted by the NFL, maybe some are, tend to opt out of these games. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think there's a lot going on at Notre Dame now with the quarterback that they brought in, to play his final year to try to give them,
Sam Hartman.
Sam Hartman, and he opted out to work out for the pros. And a lot of people are very upset with that. And I think Marcus Freeman, I sort of read an article, he didn't actually say it, but I think he assumed the kid would play. Well, my theory is if the bowl game really means something, if you're in the Final Four, these kids are all going to play. But if you're in a bowl game, it really doesn't mean a lot for the team. Do your merry thing. If you want to opt out and go work out for the NFL, fine. Because you're doing the program actually some good. Because now Notre Dame's going to be able to play their backup quarterback, who I think needs a really good shot, for next year. So these younger kids are going to get into game situations and being able to play and start and go through the whole process. So I think you're really. It sounds bad for the alumni. Say, well, he didn't really put in a full year for us, but I don't really care for that. I want to build to the future because this year is over as far as our record's concerned.
Use it as a tool for the future.
Exactly.
So to your point, because I think for those of us who grew up at a different time, we remember the major bowl. So unless you're playing in the Rose Bowl, the Orange Bowl, the old Cotton Bowl, although that's the Fiesta Bowl. I mean. What's the one in Louisiana?
I don't know some of the products that are sponsoring bowls.
Well, they change all the time. Those are that's
every year there's something in some company that I've never heard of before.
The Duke's Mayo Bowl, and the winning coach gets to have mayonnaise dumped all over him, which is just bizarre because so many people have. I mean, I know I don't, but just can't stand mayonnaise. So.
Gatorade is one thing to pour on the coach, but a vat of mayonnaise.
Yeah, well, that's just disgusting. I'm sorry. All right, so, but in terms of the opt-out, now with and we discussed this before we started the podcast, with NIL, if Hanratty Corporation wants to sponsor or has signed an NIL deal with the Notre Dame quarterback next year, and you have a contract, obviously there's got to be a contract signed, would teams or would companies put that in a contract, say, we expect you to play in a bowl game?
I think they would have to.
Yeah.
Because normally you would think, okay, you got to play for the season. Obviously, injuries are always a different situation. But if you're healthy and able to play, I think you should play for the season. Now, the bowl game is not considered part of your season. So you would have to have that written into the contract saying you would play the 12 or the 12 regular season games, then the bowl game. But I don't know how much water that would, because they say if you're healthy. How are you going to figure out if he's healthy or not?
So I was in concussion protocol. I'm a little banged up. So I think there would be ways around that, and maybe it's not worth it. And maybe, quite frankly, they want to have a great relationship. If it is somebody who's going to be drafted, that they want to keep that relationship with that individual. Say if it's Caleb Williams from USC or whoever. But so let's concentrate a little bit more on that, on the college quarterbacks. I like Hartman. I like him as a quarterback. I don't see him. But then again, who do I know? Brock Purdy was the last pick, so nobody knows, including the NFL scouts, who's going to work and who's not going to work at the NFL level. But where do you see him fitting in at the NFL level?
I talked to the old GM of the Steelers, who retired now, and I asked him about it. This is like midway through the season when Hartman was on a good roll. He was playing very well, and he said he saw him as a mid to late round quarterback.
So like fifth,
I would say fourth and above. I would say that. But then at the end of the season, he did not play well.
No, he didn't.
There's a lot of things involvement. I mean, the pass rush and all that good stuff that comes with it.
Right.
But you still have to see. You can wipe that out of the way and just see the quarterback itself in any situation. Yeah. So I would guess that's probably him.
Yeah.
Late to or mid to late rounds.
He's a tough kid. I do think I think he's a good guy, and I think he obviously he's a smart guy. So Wake Forest and Notre Dame are two very good schools. So, but what are your thoughts overall on the quarterbacks that are going to be draft eligible? I mean, you have Williams from USC, you have May from North Carolina, who a lot of people are very high on him. I don't know if you've seen him play.
Well, that's the other. I asked the guy, the ex-GM that I was talking about, that and he thought that May might be the first quarterback taken.
Really?
From North Carolina quarterback.
Okay.
Because that's when, he was, he showed, the Southern Cal kid showed a little attitude there.
Yeah.
So maybe that hurt him a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
So who's to know, what people are looking for? I mean, the whole process is not only how you throw the ball and how you can move and how you react to different things, but they also get you in a meeting with all with their coaching staff and the ownership, and they'll interview all the players, all the top players, and they'll find out what kind of guy they think you are. I mean, he could be the greatest guy in the world. I don't know. I've never met him.
Yeah.
But they did mention that he thought May might have a shot of going over him. But they're both going to be right up there in the top 5, I would guess.
I would think so. And you got the kid from Washington, Penix, the left-handed quarterback, obviously, but again, with injury problems. I'll tell you the guy I like in a second, but I'll ask you another question. Do you remember when the Chicago Bears traded up to draft the North Carolina quarterback, Mitch Trubisky? And, I mean, that was very controversial at the end. That didn't work out too well.
I hate to say it, but I liked Trubisky a lot in college.
Oh, okay.
I thought he was really good. I thought he was a big, tough kid who could move and had a cannon for an arm. Yeah. And now he's with my Steelers and not doing my. Yeah. Of course, we've said 100 times, at least once on every show we've had.
Yeah.
If you don't have the offensive line, you're an average quarterback at best.
At any level.
And Pittsburgh does not have the offensive line. It's going to make the quarterback able to shine.
Yep.
Occasionally, he'll show sparks because they'll be able to block certain situations.
I'll tell you the guy I like, and I'm not that I'm I do watched quarterback play quite a bit in college and pro football, even high school, but I like Bo Nix.
I think he's wonderful.
Yeah, I like him. I think he's smart. I think he's got a good arm strength. I think he's got NFL. I just hope that he doesn't go to the Patriots.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, it's great. It's great to be picked number 1 and you make all the money.
Yeah.
But you look at the kid with the Panthers now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Young, is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he is getting crushed every week.
He's not.
And I had on a lesser scale, but with the Steelers, I had good protection at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
When I got to Pittsburgh, it was just a slugfest. I mean, every game you're just limping off the field.
Yeah.
So you like to have those big grunts in front of you.
Yep.
But so you love to be number 1, but you're also going to the worst team.
Yeah.
So unless that team's smart enough to get an offensive line in there.
Yep. Yeah, that's interesting. So, okay. Well, what else is going on in your world? Anything else on your mind in the world of sports?
No, I'm just looking forward to, hopefully, you get through this week. I mean, there's always obviously some good football games in the bowls and in the lesser known bowls. So those are always fun to watch, and you got coming towards the NFL end of the NFL season. I think we're gonna get obviously start fall into place who's actually going to be in the playoffs.
Yes.
I mean the speculation really kills me.
Yeah.
Because they start after the 4th or 5th week. This one, if this, he's in the hunt and he's out of it and he's in it, and all of a sudden, I don't want to hear anything till after the midway through the season.
Yeah, I understand exactly where you're coming from, and it's starting to shake out now. But I have to say, I'm a Jet fan, so I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but I think the 49ers are head and shoulders the best team in the NFL right now.
They have to win soon.
Yeah, they do.
Because what's coming up? The biggest thing coming up for that team?
Free agency.
The quarterback goes off his quarterback or his
Purdy.
His first contract. So it's going to be in the next couple years. I mean, the 49ers have got to go on a roll because once he comes onto the major contract, now he's making what, $600,000?
Yeah.
He's going to be making $60 million a year if he keeps this pace up.
That's right.
And that cuts so much into your salary cap that it is crazy because the quarterback takes all the money. Yes. Now you got to try to get the guys that are going to play for the cheap.
Very
cheap.
True. Very
true. $5-10 million.
You got to, and that's why I do respect Tom Brady for what he did with the Patriots when he deferred some of his income or really set his contract up in a way to make it friendly for the team to sign other players.
Well, it's good when you're at the time your wife was making more than you.
Well, that's true.
So the Brady family didn't have to worry about it.
I wrote a blog about that, and I said the secret sauce for the Patriots is Giselle.
Yeah.
Years ago, that the fact that he could do that and he didn't have to worry about it. So, but getting back to your point about the contracts and stuff, and just those 49ers, I mean, McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, and I mean, they are loaded. I think they have with talent, and the tight end. I can't think of his name.
The kid from Iowa.
Yeah, so they have talent, and I think they're going to be a tough out in the NFC. And the AFC, I don't know. Miami. I mean, it looks like Miami can be had, but I mean,
I think Baltimore is as much as I hate to say it.
Yeah.
I think Baltimore is like head and shoulders above anybody else in the AFC.
Yeah, so it could be a rematch from the old Harbaugh versus Harbaugh Super Bowls. When the Niners face the Ravens, but we'll see. They have to play the games for a reason. But getting back to your point about money and contracts and stuff, it's just kind of a mixed metaphor here, talking about different sports. The Ohtani deal with the Dodgers. I mean, $780 million. He signed a contract for 10 years, but he's taking $2 million a year and deferring the rest. Now, our friend Chris Russo here from New Canaan, who's got his own radio show, many people know, was complaining that the Dodgers were circumventing the salary cap. Well, Chris, I'm sorry, there is no salary cap in baseball. So what they're doing, I guess, is either a loophole or they found out a way. This guy was obviously complicit and wanted to do this. But what a way to do business. I mean,
what I think what Chris really meant, he had the bad terminology,
right?
Because there really is a ceiling, a luxury tax.
Yeah,
and in fact, that's how I know it very well, because that's how my Pirates exist.
Yeah, that's right.
Because that's where they make all their money. Because the Yankees always go over, Baltimore or Boston goes over.
That's right.
And they have to pay into the button
and the other teams, right?
And the Pirates are sitting there waiting for the check to come in.
Yeah, I hear you.
So, but this. It's an interesting contract because he's only taking $2 million a year.
$2 million a year,
and that's crazy. I mean, why? I can see him wanting to defer. Now, is he deferring with interest?
That is a good question. I
would love to know that, because that's a big. No matter how much you're interested, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money
that he's pushing away.
Somebody explained it to me, because I asked somebody the question who's very knowledgeable recently. I asked that very question. In fact, it's a guy who works for the Mets. I won't say his name. He's a graduate of my program at Manhattanville, and he said to me, the Dodgers just have to show that they have enough money to pay when that contract comes due. So, and as long as they're showing that they have enough revenue or enough income, investment, whatever, available, then that's, I guess they can put it into a CD or a savings account or stock market. I don't, obviously with Ohtani's approval, but so when he walks away, that money's probably going to be making him a lot more money than we realize. And
you wonder what he's going to do with all the money then. I mean, I would think now that he could probably easily take $10 million a year.
Maybe he'll buy the team.
That could be what. Maybe that's at the end when they negotiate. Listen, instead of cash, here's the keys.
Just take the
Take the team.
Key to the city. So that's very interesting. And of course, you have this other picture that it's Yamamoto from Japan that everybody's going crazy about. The three teams, I guess, that are involved are the Mets, the Yankees, and the Dodgers. And our friend Rob Adams is a big Yankee fan. I'm a Met fan.
I'm a Pirate fan.
You're a Pirate fan, so
we're not getting them.
You're not even. Yeah, you don't even want to.
We'll take anybody that plays for less than $1 million a year.
But
come to Pittsburgh.
But that's the reason, kind of the reason why I root for teams like the Pirates and the Royals. I mean, and Tampa Bay. I mean, the posting fee just to talk to this guy or to get this guy to come that you have to pay the team in Japan is probably more than a lot of teams' payroll for the year. So that's insane, and it's a big disparity in baseball, and I think it's a problem because you do have, the major, obviously the teams like the Yankees, Mets, Dodgers, Red Sox, even that have big money to spend, and then the teams that don't, like you're saying, So it's really not fair if you think about it, but I guess that's the system.
Well, I was always a Pirate fan because I grew up 30 miles north of Pittsburgh, so I knew everybody in the 1960 when I'm a Yankee Pirate fan, but in '60 I was a Pirate fan.
Okay.
But when the season
Bill Mazeroski. Bill, I'm sorry, Bill.
When the season doesn't mean anything for the Pirates, I'm 100% Yankee.
Okay, all right, well.
But when I was with the Steelers, both of us played. That's back in the day when they built one stadium for two teams.
Right, Forbes Field.
No, this was Three Rivers Stadium.
Oh, it was back at Three Rivers. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
When Three Rivers first opened, and it showed that the stadiums back then, because Riverfront was down in Cincinnati where the Reds and the Bengals played.
Correct. Yep.
And it just shows that it wasn't good for football or baseball.
Yeah.
It was just a horrible stadium.
Yeah.
But what I used to do was back before any kind of social media or iPhones or any of this stuff,
Yep.
you sort of go down and work out in the off season
Yep.
in the spring and summer, hoping that one of your teammates would show up so you could catch the ball for you.
Gotcha.
Well, I'd also go down there when the Pirates were in town.
Oh, I see.
Because I would go down and I'd get dressed in our locker room, walk out in the field, and they're out there taking batting practice, whatnot. And now all of a sudden they all became my receivers.
Nice.
You know, I had Clemente running routes. I had
that's
Stargell running routes. I had Richie Hebner running routes. And it was, then I would go and I would take batting practice with them.
Yeah. Oh,
And I still had warning track power back then.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was, we all got together and everybody knew one another. We all rooted for one another.
Yeah.
I would go to a lot of Pirate games, and then they'd all call us up and for Steeler tickets.
Yeah.
So it was fun.
And those Pirate teams, man, they were good too. But you mentioned a few Stargell and Hebner and Roberto Clemente. Obviously, I remember crying on the day my dad walked in and told me that he was killed in a place. I think it was on a New Year's Day too.
Yes, it was very, very,
Yeah,
very sad.
Very sad.
Very sad.
You know, Manny Sanguin, the catcher, Al Oliver. They had some players.
Dave Parker.
Dave Parker, yeah. So
I mean, it was.
it's a shame that.
But I go back to when they had Stewart at first, Mazeroski at second, Dick Grote, All-American basketball player at Duke also.
Okay.
Don Hoke, and Bob Skinner in left field, Bill Verdon in center, and the great Roberto in right.
I bet though, yeah. That's why it's a little tad before my time, but that's it's good to
Like
have
two
those
of our listeners remember that lineup.
All right, so speaking of our listeners, if you're hearing this podcast, 2024, we're going to take this to a different level, and we wish everybody Happy New Year. But if there's anybody who's listening to this who has any expertise in social media or wants an internship, contact me, Dave Torromeo. I can be found on LinkedIn very easily. And we want to get Terry's stories out to more people in the universe because they're great stories, and this has been a lot of fun doing this podcast with him. So Terry, wrapping up.
That's it. We wish everybody a happy holiday and a Merry Christmas too.
Christmas, happy holidays, and stay well, stay healthy. We will do another podcast because we want to get one in before.
We're coming up next week with our wish list for 2024.
Right, very good, and predictions maybe for the bowl games and the NFL playoffs. So stay tuned, folks. Terry, thanks so much.
Thank you, Dave.